Meeting's now called to order.
I'm just gonna stay here just to see if the microphone works.
First off, I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. ASG acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Kumeyaay Nation. We recognize the indigenous peoples as the original source of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. Next up, we will have roll call.
Ashika Arasu. Alana de la Torre.
Here.
Alexa Andrade.
Here.
Arisa Lalabir.
Here.
Ceci Barron.
Here.
Chloe Cohen.
Here.
Chloe Holm.
Here.
Claire Ingray.
Here.
Daniela Velarde.
Here.
Eliza Giru.
Here.
Ezra Wheeler. Jake Dredge.
Here.
Julian Rauda.
Here.
Kayla Diaz. Kimberly Cruz.
Present.
Lauren Fettis.
Here.
Madeline Wu.
Here.
Nadia Alfaraj.
Here.
Sabrina Richards.
Here.
Siri Dondu.
Here.
Tiana Fee.
Here.
Valentina Rodriguez.
Here.
Our next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Now, before we get to that, I just want to explain something real quick. Last night I got an email, really just explaining that there's a student activity fee which funds ASG. Usually matches any increase in tuition, an increase in the student activity fee matches that. But it is up to our discretion if we want to pause raising the student activity fee for next year. Whether or not tuition will raise next year, we don't know, but we have a decision to make by the end of this meeting whether or not we want to pause it. I apologize for the late notice, but this came up very recently. But if anyone would like to amend the agenda to add a discussion on this, I would encourage that. Lauren?
I move to amend the agenda to include a new line item under new business for the discussion of the student activity fee for the 2022-2023 school year.
Okay, we have a motion being seconded to add this new agenda item. Do we have any further discussion? If not, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and all those who abstain. Motion passes.
Sean, we have to approve the agenda.
Correct. Thank you. So now we have amended the agenda. Do we have any motions to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
We have a motion being seconded to approve the agenda. Do we have any further discussion? If not, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and all those who abstain. Motion passes. Our next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Lauren?
Move to approve the minutes from the October 30th meeting. Second.
We have a motion being seconded to approve the minutes. Do we have any further discussion? Or try that again though?
I move to approve the minutes for the September 30th Senate meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion being seconded to approve minutes from the September 30th meeting. Do we have any further discussion? If not, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed, and all those who abstain. Motion passes. Our next agenda item is report from the Speaker of the Senate. So, for me, I have a group interview set up for early next week for potential senator appointments. So hopefully we'll have some new appointed senators soon. Also attended a gathering with President Harris, VPs, and other student leaders on Tuesday. Justice Ari and I met with a student and shared their troubling experience regarding core curriculum requirements. So that's very interesting to hear and something we are looking into. Then lastly, just something I noticed at our last Senate meeting is obviously like you're looking at notes or the slides, whatever, like that's acceptable, particularly related to Senate. But if it's not, please do not be on your laptop when we have speakers at Senate. They will have your full attention and respect. It's not going to slide. So yeah, if it's pertinent to Senate, fine, but if not, don't do that. And don't have your back turned to the speaker. It's not really respectful at all. So with that being said, those are all my updates. So next up, we have reports from committee chairs and coordinators.
So, we held our first academic committee last Tuesday, and in which we set goals and intentions for this month and the semester. We brainstormed initiatives and student concerns, and we set committee expectations. I also met with my advisor, Julissa, on Monday, where we set SMART goals and reviewed the USD grant bylaw. And next Monday, I have a meeting to talk about USD academic grants with Madeline, Julissa, and Ari. And lastly, my office hours are Monday, Wednesday, 3 to 5 p.m. and then Tuesday, Thursday, 4 to 6 in Learning Commons.
Hello everyone. So the first IDEA committee meeting is tomorrow at 4 p.m. The agenda has been sent out to all committee members, and during this time we plan on setting expectations, creating SMART goals for the semester, and setting intentions for ourselves and for the team. I also met with my advisor for this week, where we reviewed past ASG initiatives, worked on the agenda for our meeting, and made a presentation for our meeting. A few upcoming events related to the IDEA committee, which it would be great if all of you could spread the word about these events during your office hours throughout this week, because I think they're great events, but students are just unaware of their occurrence on campus. Miss Catherine, who visited us about 2 weeks ago during our Senate meeting for ideas on creating an intentional and comfortable space in the library, is conducting an event for first-generation students on October 13th from 5 to 6 p.m. in the library. And similar to what Dr. Christopher Burden said in our last Senate meeting, I think that this really helps creating an inclusive and accessible environment for group conversations, particularly for first-generation students. Also, on October 14th, please join the UFMC for a breather series from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. on the 4th floor of the SLP. This is just an informal painting and scratch art event, and it'll be helpful to just relieve stress with midterms going on and meet people from different identities and with different experiences.
Hello everyone. The Student Board Committee will have their second meeting today after Senate. We will be approving returning student boards today in new business. And we have some new plugs that are coming in to present at our meeting today. And we're currently in the process of setting up a meeting with the judicial branch to edit the student board bylaw, so I will have more updates next meeting.
Hello everyone, happy Thursday. So Student Life Committee, we're going to have our first meeting later this evening, and we're going to focus a lot on goal and intention setting for the year. Some of the things that I'm going to be addressing and hopefully starting initiatives around are the grocery and food trams, tram efficiency on campus, and campus-wide community building. So I'm excited to hear some more news on that.
going to stand again because I find it even better. If you look over here on the right side of the screen, this purple flyer, that's kind of an overview for the month of October, hosted by the Wellness Center. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. There's various topics and events that I'll be keeping you guys informed about. But mainly this upcoming Wednesday, on the 13th, they're having a pop-up Wednesday event. It's chocolate chips and relationships, talking about various red flags and how to kind of avoid those relationships that could end up in a negative way. So it should be a good event. There'll also be crumble cookies. I don't know if you guys have had those. They're really good. So I encourage you guys to go, or at least let other people know about the event. Also, the Student Health Center is hosting flu vaccine clinics. You can see the dates, 10 to 12. Bring your student ID. It should be super easy. I encourage you guys all to get vaccinated. It's good. It's important. It keeps our campus healthy and safe. And just wash your hands. I don't know if you've noticed, but at least for me, a lot of my friends are getting kind of sick, the flu, cold, various things like that. So just make sure you're washing your hands, make it safe. And then last thing for me, I don't know if you guys have read the Vista today. The headline says, Wellness Center, letting students fall through the cracks. It's an op-ed. I encourage you all to read it. It's very important. It's a story about an individual who had a hard time kind of finding wellness resources on campus. I will be meeting with Dr. Burton in the next couple of weeks. If you recall, he met with us last week during Senate. So I encourage you to read this. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will be meeting with him, and I can relay those questions to him, and hopefully kind of get some more answers onto this. Also, I have a stack of these if anyone's interested after Senate to distribute. So other than that, that's it.
Hello everybody, hope you guys are having a good week. I met with my advisor yesterday and we talked about the possibility of doing an eco fair in April 2022. Yeah, that's next year, 2022. So the idea would be to invite vendors. It would be a fun way to also raise awareness around climate change, climate justice, and all things sustainability. I will be reaching out, or I did reach out to TBD to see if we could do like a little bit of a coalition and help make this event as great as it can be. And then also, don't forget to check out the Emergent Art installation. Try to donate, but I know we're all students, so please get the word out on donation and supporting this group. Thank you.
Thank you all for your updates. Our next agenda item is reports from ASG executive board members.
All right, hello everyone. Happy Thursday. Hope you all are doing well. I know it's midterm season too, so just a few updates. Sean kind of mentioned it, but we met with a student who expressed concern about their experience surrounding the transitioning back to in-person learning, and especially with the layer of being a full-time working student regarding core requirements. So we're kind of working with that student and seeing what we can do to talk to administration. We also attended a social gathering with President Harris, the VPs, and other student leaders on Tuesday. It was a really great opportunity. Just wanted to provide you all some updates regarding our meeting with Kai Snyder and Charlotte Johnson, who serve on the COVID-19 action team. They provided clarification on COVID-19 protocols regarding indoor events. So until November 1st, if an event has over 1,000 attendees, all vaccination cards or proof of a negative test within the past 72 hours need to be shown at the door. Provost Baker also sends faculty a newsletter every week that has a link to anonymous reporting and a reminder of what the mask mandate is and that all professors are supposed to be wearing their masks and encouraging mask wearing in the class. And the action team expressed to us that students should, it wanted us to relay this information that if you get a phone call, please answer it even if you don't know it. I know I do that myself, just because it could be a contact tracer, and typically what they found is that students not answering their phones when a contact tracer is trying to call you, it can slow down the process and the turnaround of letting you know about the exposure and further steps. So I encourage you all to kind of just answer a phone call if you do get that and let your constituents know about this. I also wanted to thank you all for reaching out to your own constituents to get input on the transition to in-person learning. We got a few responses, and we're gonna kind of proceed with meeting with deans and letting them know what the experiences are like. I'm also gonna try starting to attend a few committee meetings with Sean, hoping it's in alignment with my class schedule, and my email is up there if you all want to email me at any time. And I will kind of give you all an update with Ari, like, since she's at Faculty Center, University Center now. Awesome. So, just you kind of wanted to talk a little bit more again about the meeting with COVID-19 Action Team, and another thing that you wanted to talk about was just that there will be an infographic coming out soon to further clarify the process, and that they're going to be also using information cross-referencing provided by the Google form that you all went out to your constituents with to see what students are experiencing. She met with Dean Norton and Sarah, our Chief Justice, and we're also all going to again be planning to meet with the rest of the deans. I don't know if Chief Justice wants to add a little bit about that meeting.
Yeah, we just we brought some concerns to Dean Norton regarding how professors have been handling COVID and like in terms of attendance policies and any accessibility or flexibility issues that we've heard from students. So we brought that to her. She's super willing to work with us. She's very interested in getting the information from this Google form that you all have been handing out to your constituents. So we're going to bring that information back to her, and we're also going to meet with the other deans to kind of relay this information because we believe, you know, Zach talked about bringing this information directly to the people that can talk to professors. And so, yeah, it was a really great meeting, and we're looking forward to meeting with the rest of the deans as well.
Those are all the updates for Ari.
Hi everyone, Logan here. Quick reminder on GCAL and office hours. You've all gotten at least one email from me already. Hate to put your name up there, but if you log your stuff, it doesn't have to. If you need my email address, it's also up there so you know how to share your Google Calendar. And then please log both the location and the hours of your office hours. Some people only do one or the other. If you need help, again, reach out to my email and I can help you that way.
Thanks, Logan. For my updates, yeah, Ceci already mentioned we're going to be working on the student work bylaws, so I'm excited to work with Ceci and the rest of the student work committee handling that. And aside from that, the judicial branch is now in session, really exciting stuff. Parking reappeals have been going pretty well, so yeah. And if you have any questions, just my email's up there.
Hello everyone, thank you for those who attended our Latinx event. It was a great turnout and it was a lot of fun, so thank you for those who attended. A reminder that the San Diego Loyal game is on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. in Torero Stadium, so if you can attend, you can still sign up for tickets at that link on the screen. And then the homecoming concert will be next week on Friday at 6:30, and the tailgate will start at 11 a.m. If you haven't seen already, the headliner for the homecoming concert will be Kid Inc. And then for the concert, we'll be handing out masks, hand sanitizer, encouraging mask wearing and distancing. It's going to be on Paseo de Kalachi, so right in front of Camino and Founders. And then the tailgate will be in the Vistas parking lot. And we also still do need volunteers for both events, so please reach out if you want to work at the concert or the tailgate. We really appreciate any help we can get. And that's all the updates I have.
Hey guys, so budget reports for centers, ASG, and TPB were due this past Monday. Finance Committee will be meeting tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. to review these budgets, and then I will be presenting them at Senate next week. And then ASGDC, there's going to be like a little brief presentation put on by Ricardo, our controller, and Madeline. Just a 101 about any funding request, questions, clarifications. We've been getting some student requests without EBRs, so we can't process their reimbursements, or people trying to submit multiple requests for the same event, which is also not possible. So this presentation will just clarify some of those questions for student org leaders, and yeah.
Hey everyone, so I just submitted the Google Forms and I would like to have them out. I would like for you guys to send them out by Friday just to finalize the Meet the Team post. And then once again, referring back to the marketing committee. So it does consist of bi-weekly meetings. They're 1 hour long. And it's just if anyone is interested in promoting ASG materials such as student org meetings, important USD events, or even just informing students about occurring events or issues at USD throughout like our social media. As well as volunteers for tabling. They are going to be 1 hour or 1 day before Senate. It all depends on like the classes. And it's going to help out to promote the upcoming speakers as well as the Senate overall. It's just to think about like USD students who have no idea what Senate is and just to help construct knowledge about that. And then if you do have any questions or if you would like to volunteer, just please email me. Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is the approval of returning student organizations.
So these are all returning student organizations that are in need of approval. They have all met the registration requirements, so just take a look at all of them. And again, these are returning students.
Do we have any motions on the floor to approve the student orgs? Liza?
I move to approve all the returning student orgs.
All right, we have a motion on the floor, accepted to approve all returning student organizations. Do we have any further discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those opposed? And all those who abstain. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda will be a presentation from Assistant Dean of Students, Mary Minnick, on the responsible Torero farm reduction practice.
Hi, everyone. As I'm walking up, I just want to make one clarification to something Justice said. The report that faculty fill out isn't anonymous. It's just a reporting form for health and safety. So it's not an anonymous report. Their names are attached to it. So I think it's important to note that their names are attached to it. Okay, so how many of you remember hearing about the responsible Torero harm reduction practice if you attended the leadership conference? Just a couple of people. Okay. So this last year, and actually the last year and a half, it took us a lot longer because of COVID, we did a review of the student conduct processes and policies. And one of the things that come up in the review, and there were student representatives throughout the different subcommittees, and one of the things that came up in the review was the idea of, similar to some other campuses, of having a Good Samaritan policy, a practice where if students were concerned about one of their peers because of the amount of alcohol that they consumed, that they could call attention to that concern by reaching out to public safety or an RA, community director, and that wouldn't necessarily result in the student getting in trouble. So we did a lot of kind of looking at what different campuses do and spoke with our wellness partners and kind of really dug into what our options were, and we came up with what we call our responsible Torero harm reduction practice. So the idea is we want to, and just so you know, at USD, it hasn't really been a huge issue. Students, I think, are concerned enough about their peers that they have been bringing to our attention. And the way that we often responded was kind of acknowledging that piece of it, and that would have some implications and sanctions. The difference is in a case where someone contacts public safety or their RA on behalf of someone they're concerned about, and everyone's cooperative, everyone's honest and everything, and that they're able to manage the incident, the student will come through our conduct process, and they will be connected to wellness resources, because that part of it is still really important, but they won't have a conduct record, and they won't necessarily be placed on university probation, which is something that we often do with someone who is kind of have risky behavior. If they're involved in a future violation, then that does revert back to being a conduct violation, because the idea is then maybe there is some concern, this wasn't a lifetime thing, but there's concern about their decision making. We want to make sure that there's the right kind of accountability for their well-being in the community as well. The other thing that we do with that Good Samaritan policy is if the students who are reporting have also been drinking, we still want to make sure that we're getting them connected to wellness resources, but we also would allow for that to be not necessarily to be a contact worker. Again, if everyone's involved. So that's basically the way that we are moving forward. We've had a few of those situations already this year, and I'm really, really grateful for the people who are making that outreach. And they've made that outreach, essentially, I think only one person knew about the possibility of this. Most of them have been making that outreach because I think they know it's the right thing to do. Any questions about this, and any questions about how it might manifest itself? Okay.
I have a question. For the student reporting, let's say that someone is like scared to report right away. Is there a certain deadline that you give them?
It's an immediate. It has to be, because it's for their well-being. It's for what's happening for them right now. It's to make sure that we get either the paramedics involved or getting them to the sobering center, something that will help make sure that they're safe. So yes, that's a great question. So it is an immediate response.
Claire?
Have there been any efforts to like promote this idea to students to like let them know that this is an option?
So it's being added to our website. All the residential life team members are aware of it and can and I think have shared it. That's one of the reasons why I was really glad to be invited here, because you all can do that too. I want to make sure though that we're not advertising it as a get out of jail free card, because what we're trying to do is dissuade dangerous behavior. And what we don't want is for someone to say, you know, I can take real risks because there's not going to be any consequences. And that is actually one of the reasons why some colleges don't have this policy, because sometimes the consequence can be the thing that helps people make a better decision. So I don't want it out there in a way that, you know, we can do whatever, and but I want it out there in a way that says, if someone's in trouble, let's get them help. Does that make sense in terms of the kind of balance of that? So anything that you all can do to share that is, I think, great. If you can do it in a way that really frames it in a how we care for each other.
Logan?
Just piggybacking off of Lucia's question, so this resource is for in the moment if someone is in danger. Is there any way that after they've been helped, you guys set them up with maybe like sobriety or addiction resources, or is it more just kind of in the minute we're trying to get them some help?
So in the minute we're getting them help, they still then come through our conduct process, so they'll still get a letter saying that there's an obligation and everything, but when we meet with them, we'll talk about the fact that their friends were concerned about them so much that they reach out for care. And then we won't have a conduct record. We actually have, for those of you who've heard of our database called Maxient, it has an option of harm reduction. So we select that, not student conduct, as their record. And then they're assigned to meet with our SHWIP counselors. So that's still a requirement. If they don't complete that, then all of a sudden it becomes a conduct record again, and then we have more conversations, because we want that wellness intervention, but it doesn't, it's not part of then conduct. Unless, of course, there's future.
Thanks.
Xian?
Hi, so I know that this is for if friends are reporting in the moment on behalf of the student that is intoxicated, but what if the person self-reports they are asking in the moment for help? What is the process following this? Is it the same?
Yeah, it's the same. I think the reality is that doesn't happen that often because the person who needs help maybe doesn't have the capacity to ask for help. But absolutely, if someone is in a situation where we take that into consideration too. It just hasn't been as big. Thank you.
Would you?
I had another question to follow up. So let's say if that person not asking for help, if the friend does report them but they want to be kept anonymous, is there an option to be kept anonymous, or are they always going to be told that the friend reported them?
So part of our conversation, that's a great question. Part of our conversation really is that restorative justice piece of it. And so one of the aspects of restorative justice is the impact that people's behavior has on others. One of the things we want to talk about with the student is, your friend was so concerned about you, or this person was so concerned about you, that they had to grapple with the decision on whether to report this. And we want them to kind of understand, and maybe even thank them, because we'll encourage that. Usually we don't necessarily require that, but we'll encourage, sometimes we require it, for them to actually thank the person who reported. And my experience has been that the students who have come through our process are really, really grateful for that. So I understand people feeling concerned about kind of, am I ratting someone out? But again, that's the whole point of this harm reduction process, is the ability to kind of get someone help, and then for us to help as we reach that experience, making sure that they appreciate what someone's about. Thank you.
My question was more about just clarification. So, is this like, so what is essentially the difference of someone just coming up and saying, oh, like my friend is going through something, like that is not really like, or my question is more like, as a person, because I remember like how you were discussing about how like there's that protection of not being, or like conduct. But is that like different than just someone else, or like a friend going up and saying, "Oh, I'm worried about my friend. He's doing this or that." Like, what is the difference in like just like openly reporting it rather than being possibly like conduct like implication?
So and let me know if this is what you're asking. If someone goes to their RA and says, "I'm really concerned about my roommate. They come home drunk a lot. They're showing exhibiting behaviors that are of concern." We've had that happen over time. We've never included that in conduct because we're not dealing with it in the moment. We're not dealing with the actual behaviors. We're having someone else kind of tell us. And so that's no different. That continues to be the, let's get them connected to the right resources. Let's figure out ways that we can intervene for their support and well-being. Let's provide support to the roommate who may be impacted by this. That all stays the same. The difference is, in the moment when someone is really intoxicated, of making sure that we're getting them help then, so that we don't have someone die as a result of their level of intoxication. Does that kind of answer the clarification?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Liza?
So I'm just curious what the reasoning for going through the school with all of this, if it is for more like health concerns and so they don't die or so they don't get severely harmed. What's the importance of doing that through the school rather than I'll just take my friend to the hospital or call an ambulance and my friend gets help in that way? Like, what is the different process?
Right. So when you call an ambulance to campus, and this is primarily kind of the way that we become aware of them is usually residential students or an event that may be happening on campus. When an ambulance comes to campus, public safety is involved. They just are involved. If they weren't involved in the phone call, they let our public safety know they're on their way. Because we're private property, and so that there is some connections with that. So they're gonna get involved, and so because of that, we want to make sure that people understand that this is safe. In terms of just bringing my friend to the hospital, that can be risky because when people are in this bad a shape, just even the process of getting to the hospital can be too much time, and they're also likely vomiting, and you don't want that in your car. I mean, this is a way for us to make sure that they're getting immediate help in a way that's going to make sure that they're safe.
Carissa?
This is a question about like clarification, but how are you, did you mention this is a form? How are people supposed to?
It's not a form, it's a practice. So so RAs write reports. So if they write a report on something like this, we change it from a conduct to a harm reduction based on the conversation that we have with the students and the context. So it's not a form that a student would fill out. We want them to call public safety, knock on your RA's door, and get help right away.
Okay, so to take advantage of this practice that is in place, you would just call public safety and like.
When the person is in bad shape.
Yeah, like in the moment, what would a student do?
Call public safety. 2222.
So like if we're trying to like educate our peers or inform them about this, we're gonna refer them and like we're telling them to call public safety.
Yeah, 619-260-2222. That's the emergency number.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Staff, go ahead. Sorry, Highland?
Hello. So I know you were mentioning that there is some kind of resource online. I was trying to find it, but what's the specific name?
So right before I came here, I tried finding it too and realized that it hadn't been, so the way we add things to our website, then it has to get approved to be finalized. It must be sitting in that queue and just that it hadn't gotten approved. So our executive assistant who manages that stuff is out this week. So probably Monday or Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay, and
So
then
I apologize for that. But it'll be under resources on our website. So it'll be sandiego.edu/conduct, and then the tab will be resources.
okay, thank you.
Justice.
I just had a quick question regarding like the difference between students on campus and students off campus. So would this still apply for folks who live off campus? Would they help public safety as well?
So public safety can't usually respond off campus. Their best bet is to go ahead and call for paramedics. If it's a non-organization event, we're not likely going to find out about it. And so I'm hoping that what all of you are doing is supporting your peers to get the kind of help that can be helpful for them. So the same kind of requirement of connecting with SWIP, kind of intervening with your friends to make that Center for Health and Wellness Promotion side. If it's a university organization connected event, so fraternity sorority event, student sports club where people can sing after or whatever, then we would generally become aware of that if they managed it, again, in the moment in a way that sought help and included, they can then call public safety. Public safety wouldn't necessarily be the first responder, but they can make sure that the response happens. They can make sure that our kind of on-call person can follow up with family to make sure that those people are connected, and just like we would do with a campus student. But if it's not a university-sponsored event, usually we're not. And then usually we don't get more of a conduct perspective either. So this is really kind of a mitigation in terms of people not calling because they're afraid to get someone in trouble.
Andres?
I just want to ask another quick clarifying question. So as you said, like, you want to report something happening. So that process of being like reduced from a conduct thing to harm reduction, as you put it, is that just a policy that just kind of so we can encourage people to be reporting those kind of things, or is there like a whole like kind of like like conversation that they have to have with like student conduct about maybe making it a conduct issue or like putting that new category that you had mentioned?
So a great question. So the letter that they'll receive is like an allegation letter, like anyone would receive. So they'll follow up from that with that allegation letter. And in our conversation, like we'll have them coming in with the idea that this may really fit under the harm reduction introduction category. But if they come in and they are not interested in making any change in behavior, and they're not interested in, kind of identifying the impact that they had on their community, then that probably will stay permanent. My experience is that isn't what generally happens. Most students come in and they're embarrassed and they don't want to ever have this happen again, and it's not something that is a normal part of their kind of decision making, and so we want to frame kind of that from that perspective. So I guess maybe the clarification is it's not an automatic response, but it's generally the response that would happen in a case where someone, reported on behalf of someone.
Thank you.
If you end up having other questions, you can email me. I'm mminnick@sandiego.edu. Or you can come by our office because we do in person. Thanks everyone. Thanks for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Our next item on the agenda is a Senate presenters brainstorm. So it's really this opportunity to have a discussion about if anyone has any suggestions, ideas, anything they'd like to have for a Senate presenter. Now would be a good time just to mention that in Senate. Doesn't have to be a specific person, it could just be a general topic or area. Madam?
Just given that dining is such a hot topic right now with student satisfaction around the food, I would think somebody maybe like Charles Ramos or something from dining would be a good person.
Thank you. Lauren?
I know that conversations are going on with executive admin about like academics and professor like policy concerning COVID and everything. But if it would be possible to have someone from like the COVID response team and or like maybe Dr. Gail Baker, that would be a very beneficial conversation to have.
Alana?
I've recently been hearing a lot of complaints about the tram services not being the most reliable, so maybe just someone who is in charge of that.
Sabrina?
I think this kind of goes under dining too, it's like we're talking about, but a lot of people like my constituents have been talking about no matter what restaurant they go to, there's no caps for like their ice drinks, which is awkward if you're not like a cap or whatever. So maybe like supply inventory kind of thing for dining.
Do we have anyone else? If not, we'll move to our next agenda item, which is the item we had earlier in the meeting. You have to set a time for this agenda item, so I'll set it for 15 minutes. So as I mentioned, this is for the 2023 student activity fee, whether we are going to vote to pause a potential increase or not. I do have some info on it if this helps. This is from Dr. Avery. This is kind of information about the using. Sorry. Now we have it up there. So with that being said, do we have any comments or discussions? End of the day, if you move to vote on this, the vote would be to pause it. If we don't vote on it, the the student activity fee will just continue to raise as is if there's an increase in tuition next year, if that makes sense. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask. If there is no discussion, we will move to the next agenda item, and the student activity fee would increase again. Jake.
Yeah, my only question is if we choose to pause the rates, what difference in funding that comes? If anyone knows, or is it just
Denver?
I didn't catch that last part, Jacobs, so the last senator, but to answer part of it, hopefully all of it. Currently, the student activity fee is $125 per semester. If you decide not to increase it, it will remain at $125 per semester. Just want to make sure. Hopefully that answered. Currently that is the funding the funding is for $125 per student, $125. Right now, financially, I would say, and Sheehan can share, if not, but I would say that you all are financially healthy. So I don't think it would impact you all financially for the future. I did check in with that prior to this meeting, so I would say that if the student amount of students is similar and they would be contributing 125, I would say that you all would be in a financially healthy place.
Sheehan, and also just mention one thing, just for the ease of keeping stack and the speaking order, if you would like to speak, just please raise your hand. Your placard is high so you see it. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Sorry. I just wanted to remind everyone of what the student activity fee funds. So it funds all undergraduate student programming for ASG, so you all are familiar with what ASG does, all those different initiatives and resources that we provide through that. TPB, so programming, all the great things that you see on campus, and then also centers undergraduate funding. So just keep in mind that, and then we also are, like Jen said, financially healthy, so just something to think
about. Lauren?
From my perspective and from what we just heard from our advisors and from Sheehan, I personally think that we're in a very healthy place with our budget, and it's my position that we should pause it and after Cecily's point of clarification. I move to pause the increase in the student activity fee for the 2022-2023 school year.
We have a motion being seconded to pause the increase in the student activity fee for the 2022-2023 school year. Do we have any further discussion? Eliza.
This is just a quick thing. If we're voting yes, that means that we will, at least as of now, not be increasing the student activity.
So yes, to clarify, voting yes would be a vote to pause the increase, or potential increase depending on which increases or not.
Thank you.
Jake?
Yeah, I'm just confused. Is this a pressing matter? Because I feel like this kind of got thrown at us at the last moment, and I personally am not prepared. haven't really gone through the numbers, so I don't 100% feel comfortable, and I feel we should look at this forward as we possibly get information. That's just my personal opinion. So I will be voting against doing that, and hopefully taking it, but that's just my opinion.
Understandable. Is second. Just for clarification, the reason this is happening right now is just because it's an urgent matter in the sense that the vote has to happen by Friday. It's something we weren't aware of until recently, in the last 24 hours. So that is how the situation is. Lauren?
Just for the record and from the way that I understand it, the numbers are the allocations really that we've already looked at. Like we've already looked at the numbers for this year and those wouldn't really change. So if that gives you any peace of mind.
Adam?
Just out of curiosity, where would the extra funding go if we were to pause it?
Dr. Avery?
Hi all, thank you so much for allowing me to speak, Sean. So I'm Dr. Avery, Assistant Vice President of Student Affairs, and I work with lots of different offices on campus and centers. So this came to my attention yesterday because the campus is trying to identify the cost of attendance for next year by next week. And so they need this number, or they need to know a decision on this specific so that it's part of the formula for next year. There is not a decision on tuition for next year at this point. That has to be approved by the Board of Trustees. So there would not be any extra money next year if you don't pause it, because students don't pay it. I mean, if you pause it, students don't pay any more than the current $125 per semester. So this formula was developed like in the 1970s. It went from like a $40 or $50 a semester fee to being tied to tuition so that it didn't need to be voted on so frequently by the students in the Associated Student Government. So that it was just an automatic process to allow for increases in different fees, catering, food, services, etc. on an annual basis. And I will give the feedback about this given to us on the last minute. So I don't think we should be in this position again. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Avery. And just to add on to that, I think Alan asked about excess funds. So like I talked about what the student activity fee funds, I guess if the student activity fee were to be raised, it would just be further dispersed like it already is through ASG, TPB, and the centers. And currently with what we are paying now, we are in a very good place. We do have extra funds from the previous year because of COVID savings, I guess, and after reallocations, we still have excess funds, so that is something to think about. But yeah, if you're talking about excess funds, the difference between what we're paying now and what you could all be paying if we do choose to allow this increase, it would just be dispersed through the centers, TPB, and ASG.
If there's no discussion, any further discussion, then we would end up proceeding to the votes. So with that being said, we are going to move to the vote right now. If you vote yes on this, it is to pause any potential increase. The no vote would be to allow potential increase. So with that being said, all those in favor, please raise your flags. All those opposed, and all those who abstain. Motion passes. Our next item on the agenda is final business and hearing of the public. So at this time, any senator may take from the table any motion previously laid on the table in the meeting the week before, or present urgent business. and any member of the public may voice any concerns to the assembly on non-agenda items. Sarah?
I was just gonna say, like, I don't like dropping names, but like, I love to see you all on campus. Like, it's great. I'm like, oh, she or he's a senator, they're a senator, cool. But I also see some of y'all not wearing masks in buildings, and that's a little rough because we're like representatives of our constituents and things like that. We're supposed to be really good examples. So just remember that when you're in a building, even if you get out of class, you're still supposed to be wearing your mask in the building itself, and not like wearing your mask below your nose, your chin, whatever formation that could happen. Just make sure you're wearing your mask properly because you're supposed to be these great examples, and if we're asking our constituents to do the same thing, we should be doing them first and foremost. That's what leadership's about. So just remember that.
Justice?
So I know Mary came in and gave a really great presentation, so I hope you all were paying attention and you had great questions. But just wanted, I know she mentioned about the form that Provost Baker sends out to faculty every Monday for the reporting, and she mentioned that it was not anonymous. Just want to let you all know that the information that Charlotte Johnson gave us was that it is anonymous. So I'm gonna kind of further clarify with them so that I can also